if I told you that Apple, one of the biggest companies in the world, started in a tiny garage with just 3 guys and a dream? And what if I told you that the man who built Apple into a tech empire was once kicked out of his own company?
Imagine a world without the iPhone, MacBook, or Apple Watch. Hard to picture, right? Apple isn't just a company. It's a revolution that changed the way we live, work, and communicate. But did you know that Apple started in a small garage with just 3 founders? And that Steve Jobs, the face of Apple, was once kicked out of his own company. From near bankruptcy to becoming the world's most valuable company, Apple's story is nothing short of incredible. But success didn't come easy. There were failures, betrayals, and moments when everything seemed lost. In this video, we're diving deep into Apple's rise, fall, and comeback. We'll explore the brilliant minds behind Apple, the groundbreaking products that changed history, and the turning points that made Apple what it is today. But here's a question. Do you know why one of Apple's 3 original founders sold his entire stake for just $800? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know some shocking facts that most people don't. So how did Apple go from a garage startup to a trillion-dollar empire? Let's get started. In the mid-1970s, the world was on the brink of a technological revolution, but computers were still massive, expensive, and mostly used by businesses or universities. 3 men, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne, had a vision to change that. Steve Wozniak, a brilliant self-taught engineer, had been experimenting with building a personal computer that everyday people could use. Steve Jobs, the ambitious marketer, saw its potential and pushed Wozniak to turn his hobby into a business. Then there was Ronald Wayne, the often forgotten third co-founder, who had experience in business operations and even drafted the first Apple company logo and contract. On April 1st, 1976, inside a small garage in Los Altos, California, Apple Computer was officially born. Their first product? The Apple I. Unlike other computers at the time, it was a single circuit board, making it more compact and affordable. Wozniak's genius allowed it to be more powerful than its competitors. To fund Apple, Jobs sold his Volkswagen van, and Wozniak sold his HP calculator, a huge personal sacrifice for their dream. They started assembling and selling the Apple for $666.66, not because of any hidden meaning. Wozniak just liked repeating numbers. But not everyone believed in Apple's future. Just 12 days after co-founding the company, Ronald Wayne quit, selling his 10% stake for just $800. Why? He feared the financial risks of starting a new business. That same stake today would be worth over $200 billion. Despite this setback, Jobs and Wozniak pressed on. The success of the Apple led to the creation of the Apple II, one of the first personal computers with a color display. It wasn't just an improvement, it was a game changer. By 1980, Apple was making millions of dollars, and its initial public offering, IPO, created instant millionaires. But while Apple was on the rise, tensions were growing within the company. Jobs was a perfectionist with a demanding leadership style, which clashed with Apple's executives. Soon, an internal power struggle would lead to something unthinkable: Steve Jobs being forced out of Apple. By the early 1980s, Apple was a rising star in the tech world, thanks to the massive success of the Apple II. The company was growing fast, and in 1980, Apple went public, making Steve Jobs a multimillionaire at just 25 years old. But Jobs wasn't satisfied. He wanted to revolutionize the industry once again. His next big project? The Macintosh. Unlike previous computers, the Mac had a graphical user interface and was controlled by a mouse, making it far easier to use than the competition. Jobs became obsessed with perfection, pushing his team to the limit with intense deadlines and constant revisions. Many employees feared his demanding leadership style, describing it as relentless and exhausting. But in 1984, the Macintosh was finally ready. Apple launched the Mac with one of the most famous commercials in history, the 1984 Super Bowl ad, directed by Ridley Scott. The ad painted Apple as the hero fighting against the oppressive Big Brother, a clear jab at IBM. It was a marketing masterpiece. But while the ad was legendary, the Macintosh itself struggled. It was too expensive at $2,495, and its hardware was underpowered, leading to disappointing sales. Investors grew frustrated, and tensions inside Apple escalated. Jobs clashed with John Scully, the former Pepsi executive he had personally recruited as Apple's CEO. Jobs was a visionary who wanted innovation at any cost. Scully, on the other hand, focused on stability and profits. Their conflict soon turned into an all-out power struggle. In 1985, Apple's board sided with Scully, and in a shocking move, Steve Jobs was forced out of his own company. The man who built Apple from nothing was now jobless at 30 years old. But Jobs wasn't one to give up. He took $12 million of his own money and started a new company called Next, aiming to build high-end computers for professionals. At the same time, he acquired Pixar, a struggling animation studio, for just $5 million. Meanwhile, Apple struggled without Jobs. Sales dropped, leadership changed constantly, and by the mid-90s, the company was on the brink of bankruptcy. But fate had other plans. In 1997, Apple made a shocking decision. They bought Next, bringing Steve Jobs back to the company he once founded. And this time, he was about to change the world once again. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company was in serious trouble. Sales were plummeting, and the company had lost its innovative edge. Many analysts predicted that Apple wouldn't survive another year. Jobs wasted no time. He immediately simplified Apple's product line, cutting down dozens of unnecessary models and focusing only on a few core products. He believed in quality over quantity, a philosophy that would define Apple's future. But Apple still needed cash. In a shocking move, Jobs turned to an old rival, Microsoft. At the 1997 Macworld Expo, Jobs announced that Microsoft would invest $150 million in Apple. When Bill Gates' face appeared on the big screen, the audience booed. But the deal ensured Apple's survival. With Apple stabilized, Jobs turned his focus to innovation. In 1998, Apple launched the iMac, a sleek, colorful computer that stood out from the boring, beige PCs of the time. It was a huge success, selling nearly 800,000 units in its first 5 months. But Jobs wasn't done. He wanted to change the way people listened to music. Enter the iPod. In 2001, Apple launched the first iPod, a tiny device that could hold 1,000 songs in your pocket. It revolutionized the music industry, making CDs obsolete. Then came iTunes in 2003, allowing users to legally buy and download music for 99 cents per song. It changed the music business forever and positioned Apple as the leader in digital entertainment. But the biggest moment in Apple's history came in 2007. On January 9th, at Macworld 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto the stage and introduced three devices: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, a breakthrough internet device. Then, with a smile, he revealed the truth. These are not three separate devices. This is one device, and we are calling it the iPhone. The iPhone was a game changer. It wasn't just a phone. It was a mini computer, a music player, a camera, and more. It changed the way we communicate and became Apple's most successful product ever. With the iPhone, Apple didn't just dominate the tech industry, it changed the world forever. And this was just the beginning. After the iPhone's launch in 2007, Apple entered a new era. The smartphone industry was revolutionized, and Apple's influence spread worldwide. But Steve Jobs wasn't done transforming technology. In 2010, Apple introduced the iPad, a sleek touchscreen tablet that redefined how people browsed the internet, played games, read books, and watched videos. Many critics mocked it, calling it just a big iPhone. But within months, millions of iPads were sold. Apple had created an entirely new product category. Meanwhile, the iPhone continued to evolve. Every year, Apple improved its camera, processor, and design, making the iPhone the most desired smartphone on the planet. But the real game changer was the App Store, launched in 2008. Suddenly, developers could create and sell apps to millions of users, birthing a multi-billion-dollar app economy. By 2011, Apple was at its peak, but then tragedy struck. On October 5th, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at the age of 56. The world lost a visionary. Many wondered, can Apple survive without him? Under the leadership of Tim Cook, Apple not only survived, but thrived. Cook expanded Apple's reach beyond hardware, focusing on wearables and services. In 2015, Apple launched the Apple Watch, and in 2016, the AirPods, both of which became cultural phenomena. Millions were sold, making Apple the leader in wearable technology. Apple also shifted towards subscription-based services, launching Apple Music, iCloud, Apple Pay, and later Apple TV Plus. These services created a new revenue stream, making Apple less dependent on iPhone sales. Then, on August 2nd, 2018, Apple made history, becoming the first publicly traded company to reach a $1 trillion market valuation. Just 3 years later, in 2021, it became the first $3 trillion company. No other company had achieved this before. But Apple's success isn't just about money. It's about innovation, risk-taking, and a relentless pursuit of perfection. Values that Steve Jobs embedded in the company's DNA. And with AI, AR, and the Vision Pro, Apple is already shaping the next chapter of technology. The journey isn't over, it's just beginning. Apple's journey from a garage startup to a trillion-dollar empire is one of the most inspiring stories in business history. It's a testament to innovation, resilience, and bold thinking. But behind Apple's success was a man who saw the world differently, Steve Jobs. He wasn't just a businessman. He was a visionary who believed in creating products that changed lives. His philosophy was simple. people don't know what they want until you show it to them. And time again, he proved that true. His obsession with simplicity, design, and user experience transformed industries, from personal computing to music, smartphones, and beyond. Jobs didn't just sell products, he sold a vision of the future. Even after his passing, his vision continues to shape Apple. Every iPhone, iPad, and Mac carries the DNA of Jobs' relentless pursuit of perfection. Apple has stayed true to his core principles, constantly innovating and pushing boundaries. But the biggest lesson from Apple's journey isn't just about technology. It's about thinking differently, taking risks, and never settling for ordinary. So, what's next for Apple? With advancements in AI, AR, and cutting-edge devices like the Vision Pro, the company is still leading the future. One thing is certain: Apple's story is far from over. If you found this story inspiring, hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing content.